Hi there, I'm here at the magical Faerie Festival in Canterbury with multi-talented musician, artist, healer Nick Ashron. Hello!
Hi Laura, thank you very much.
How are you doing? How are you enjoying the festival?
I just love being with the fairies and the fairy folk because nature's really important to me. So nature to me is one of the most powerful ways to nurture yourself and your well-being.
Yeah, absolutely. Isn't one of your workshops about nature and nurture today?
That was the one I did today, yes.
How did that go?
It went really well, yes. Because I think it's really important that, I mean, one of the biggest things or the most important things that I emphasise in my workshops is about nurturing yourself and your well-being, because most people, if you talk to them, have issues with themselves and their own self-worth, their own self-value. So it's really important. The whole essence of my work, essentially, if you boil it right down, is about empowering people, helping them to discover their own power and become their own sort of creators of their own reality.
It's brilliant. How did you get started? Because you're obviously a musician, an artist, a healer and a TV presenter. How did it all start for you?
Very simply, actually, the trigger, I know it sounds a bit bizarre, but it was when I was 8 years old. I used to spend all my time in trees. And when I was in school, all I wanted to do was be out sitting in the trees. So very few things got my attention when I was in school. But on one occasion, curiously enough, remember I'm only 8, they were talking about a man that went around healing people who had such love and compassion. And this man was quoted to have said, "What I do, you can do and much more." And of course, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, at 8 years old, you know, not knowing any better, I just went, that's what I want to do.
Oh.
It was a really powerful feeling, this desire to want to be a healer. And by the time I got to the age of 12, I used to actually go up and used to question the priest, and I used to say, "Where are the people doing healing?" And they used to kind of, you know, only Jesus can heal, they would say. And I go, well, if that's the case, why do you quote him saying, "What I do, you can do and much more"? And they didn't like that. So it left me with this kind of disillusionment. I became very, very disillusioned with the whole kind of church and religion side of things. But I still had this desire that I'd really like to do something positive, you know, be a healer really, but no one seemed to do that. But when I got to about the age of 21, my mum dragged me along for moral support to a spiritualist church, which I was really freaked about. Spiritualist church, oh my God, what's that all about? But actually, I was very pleasantly surprised. It wasn't what I'd anticipated, and they were talking about healing. And that's where I first came across people that were healing.
Brilliant.
And I very quickly learned and developed my own abilities as a healer. And as I started to learn more about the healing process, I realized that music would be a powerful medium to transmit healing energy. So I started creating music that specifically had a healing intent behind it. And I wrote my first piece of spiritual healing music in 1975 that I called The Healing Waters. And this was at a time when there wasn't...
Nothing like that, was there?
You know, this wasn't a recognized form of music, but because I was very inspired by the New Age movement, this term, the New Age, which I was made aware of in America as an umbrella term that encapsulated all manner of different people from all different spiritual understandings, but they're all under one roof. So I was one of the very first early pioneers of spiritual New Age music here in the UK, but attempted to do it full time.
Yes.
And being a musician anyway is quite difficult, but attempting to be a musician full time, just doing music and healing, was very challenging.
Hard to eat.
Exactly. And ran myself into a lot of debt. And so I needed to find another source of income. And very simply, I put out an intent to Spirit that I needed another source of income. And very shortly after I did that, I carried on going around Mind, Body, Spirit fairs, just doing the music, when mediums and psychics suddenly came up to me, started telling me I could be a psychic artist. And this kept happening. It wasn't just one occasion, to the extent that I thought, right, I better pay attention here. So I started developing my own gift as a channeling through my art, because the two things that absorbed me when I was a child was I love music and art. They were the two most prominent things. And so they've become the two things that I'm still actively involved in. Now, the spirit guide work eventually came into the picture through the channeling of the art. And that's been my main source of income now for the last 13 years.
You're very popular for your spirit guide drawings. I've seen them all around in lots of different magazines and things.
It has become the thing that's been the most, well, it provides me with my main source of income. Therefore, freeing me, take the pressure off doing the music, although it did tend to push the music a bit in the background.
It's hard to get the balance.
So I put a fresh intent out in the beginning of 2008 that I wanted to start bringing my music forward. So I reformed Elfin Spiral, which is a band I formed back in the 90s. We used to play prolifically at the Green festivals in Glastonbury, at the Green fairs. Anyway, reformed Elfin Spiral, started going to the Faerie Festival
in
Cornwall, and because the name Elfin Spiral, I wanted to encapsulate a name that connected with nature, because nature's really, really important, keeping that connection with nature. But I'm also really fascinated by the stars. So I wanted to name a band that married those two connections, nature and the stars. So I was thinking of various names, and Elfin, I'm always very, very drawn to the whole Elfin kind of side of things. But I was thinking of stars, and I was thinking of spiraling galaxies, and I love spirals. So I thought, right, Elfin Spiral.
It's a really good name, it's beautiful.
I decided, or I put out a fresh intent in 2008 that I really wanted to start bringing my music forward now, because for a long time it had been pushed in the background. And again, how the universe works. I was invited on a TV show on Sky. He invited me on to talk about music and healing, and asked if I'd play a piece of music on the show. So I took my acoustic guitar and I did a little instrumental kind of fairy piece. And when I came off from that interview, the producers of the channel, I guess they liked me, I don't know, or they liked what I was talking about, offered me my own TV show.
Excellent. That's genius.
And they basically said, you know, and that blew me away, because it was never something that was ever in my
plans.
No. And I had to think about it. I went, well, you know, I suppose that could be quite interesting. So they basically said to me, you come up with whatever theme you want and whatever. And I said, well, if I'm going to do a TV show, they said it'd be like a chat show. I said, I want to do one about spirituality and light workers. I don't know if you're familiar with that term.
Yes, yeah.
And basically, the show is about all the various different subjects that come under the heading of spirituality. And then I have a different theme each week, and I have 2 guests. But the other thing that was really great was that when they offered me the TV show, and I came up with the name of Nick Ashron's Lightworker's Guide to the Galaxy, they said to me, oh, by the way, Nick, we loved you doing that piece of music. Why don't you finish off each show doing a piece of music? And I was like, oh, wow. So suddenly I had a platform for being able to promote my music through the TV show. So it's extraordinary.
Wonderful. Yeah.
I mean, it's been an extraordinary journey. The amount of synchronicities and you know, stories that you can read about, because I do have a book.
Ah, yes, it's your first book, is it?
This is my first book, which I've called By the Light of the Star. And of course, the star, our star is our own higher self. That's what we refer to, our own personal star. Because ultimately, we are our own best guide once we trust.
That's the problem, isn't it, the trust?
Well, this is one of the things that I talk a lot about in my workshop, how you can really kind of develop a greater trust in yourself. The hinge pin of that is your well-being, so making sure you maintain your well-being. And for me personally, the most powerful way to maintain your well-being is by keeping connected with nature.
Yeah, definitely.
And immersing yourself in the nature spirits, which is why I come to these events.
These lovely festivals. Oh, it's been lovely talking to you, Nick.
Thank you very much.
And have a lovely festival.
Thank you.
My